Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. On this channel we post writing tips, unboxings, book hauls, book reviews and the occasional vlog. And today I have another book review for you, and it is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. This is a book I honestly never thought I'd read, but I'd heard a lot about, and it just so happened that Bev, Matt's mum's book club, had read it recently, so she had a copy. So this is a borrowed book from Bev. I read it. I'm impressed with myself. This book is kind of a murder mystery about a woman in the 60s who grows up in the swamps and becomes a legend in a way, and it's very interesting. It's a time period I honestly tend to avoid in books. I don't like necessarily reading a lot of sexist things, and obviously the 1960s and things were not great. And in fantasy I don't like it, but because it's not the real world I can kind of disconnect from it a little, / pretend it's historical fiction. Like historic period dramas I don't mind because it's history, it's past, it's what it was. But when it's as close to this and knowing, you know, this is my parents' generation, I don't necessarily like that time period, so I do avoid this, which is why I'm very proud of myself for reading this, because it takes a lot for me to read a book from this time period, honestly. I know I've read a couple back in 2024, and they've all been due to my book club, so you know this is not one I would pick up naturally by myself. But I am glad I've read it, and it wasn't as hard to read as I thought it would be. As always, I'll read you guys the blurb first. Before getting to that, don't forget to like what you see, to subscribe to this channel. Your continued support means a lot, so thank you guys so much. For years, rumours of the Marsh Girl have haunted Barkley Cove, a quiet town on the North Carolina coast. So in late 1969, when handsome Chase Andrews is found dead, the locals immediately suspect Kaya Clark, the so-called Marsh Girl. But Kaya is not what they say. Sensitive and intelligent, she has survived for years alone in the marsh she calls home, finding friends in the gulls and lessons in the sand. Then the time comes when she yearns to be loved. When two young men from town become intrigued by her wild beauty, Kaya opens herself to a new life, until the unthinkable happens. There are some reviews on here. The Times says takes your breath away. New York Times book review says painfully beautiful, at once a murder mystery, a coming-of-age narrative, and a celebration of nature. People, an astonishing debut. And on the front we have The Times, a rare achievement, The Guardian, vivid and original, and the Daily Mail, unforgettable. So this is a debut novel, and it doesn't read like a debut. Delia Owens' writing is definitely so good, very good writer. And as I said, I was very scared to read this book, and I ended up reading it within a week, and I loved it by the end and couldn't put it down. The first few chapters, honestly, I was disappointed. I was like, I'm not going to get into this, I don't like the writing style. And then I got into it, so I was wrong when I first started reading it, and it did grow on me. I only have 4 quotes from this book, so let me read you guys those now. Page 139. You're almost 15, right? Yes. What's that got to do with it? He was quiet a minute, shuffled his feet, digging his toes deeper in the sand. Looking away from her, he said, it might be, you know, what happens to girls your age. Remember a few months ago I brought you a pamphlet about it? It was with those biology books. I was glad that Delia included that in here, because for the, you know, that is representing it, even if it's represented in, you know, how it was so represented at the time. But also it was probably represented better than it was at the time, because this is a male character talking to her about it. He's a very nice person. I really like him. So it's probably actually a good role model to follow. Page 161. But this was too abrupt. Picnic. Then mate the Marsh Girl. Even male birds woo the females for a while, flashing brilliant feathers, building bowers, staging magnificent dances and love songs. Yes, Chase had laid out a banquet, but she was worth more than fried chicken. Again, she worth far more than fried chicken, but also your virginity and your sex is not something to be earned. It's not something to be given away. Sex is between however many people you want, to be honest, and as long as it's consensual. It's not something to give, it's something to enjoy. Again, slightly represented oddly, but also for the time period represented well. And I do love how the character already knows, you know, self-worth. Page 273. She brought it on herself. Consorting unchaperoned. A natural wanton had led her unmarried to a cheap motel but still unsatisfied. Sex under flashing neon lights, marked only by blood smudged across a sheet like animal tracks. Absolutely not her fault, the situation she finds herself in, and sex before marriage is absolutely normal and fine and should not be something that's taboo or frowned upon. Time period representation. Even to this day, women are blamed for the situation that our main character finds herself in. And it's not right. It's talked about. And again, it's shown kind of both ways. It's my own problems, guys. It's my own problems. Page 351. She wished she could snuggle with the only one who'd ever accepted her as she was. But the cat was back at the jail. You just know the cat is one of my favourite characters. That's all of my quotes from this book. As I said, I read it within a week. It was really oddly easy to read, even though I was petrified to read it. We'll go into my overall review of this. So for enjoyment, I gave it 8 out of 10. Writing style 8. Plot 8. World building 10. You thoroughly know where they are. Characterization 10. They do all have a character arc and the characters are also believable. Representation. Now, it represents the 1960s. So there's a lot of racism. There's a lot of sexism. It is quite hard to read. But people are represented. So, you know, I'm going to give it a 8. And originality 10. Overall, I give this book 4 stars out of 5. It was hard for me to read. If you don't find this era hard to read about, you'll probably give it a 5-star read. It has such raving reviews and it's one that I would definitely recommend for people to read. I didn't think I would. I was terrified. I'm glad I conquered my fear and I would recommend this book. And thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. If you'd like to see as soon as I upload, click the little bell down below. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook and Tumblr. I post my bookish pictures as well as more writing tips and unboxings on there. And thanks for watching, guys. Bye!